Let me explain how your subconscious works. We are like human emotional icebergs with only the tip of our feelings showing and the vast majority of what we feel and think buried deep beneath the surface. We think we are behaving rationally, but our brains are very primal and subject to emotions and defenses that we are largely unaware of and have no control over. The good news is that 90% of our frustrations with our partner come from experiences in our past. This means that only 10% of the frustrations you currently have are about each other. For example, you may get frustrated when your partner leaves clothes lying around or forgets to put the bins out. But underlying those irritations may be deep memories of when your mother had high expectations of you and you feel inadequate, or your father wanted to control you and you experimented with drugs to rebel against him. Usually it's the little irritations that I see in my therapy room, and it's only with expert work that we can get to the underlying issues. In this course, I'm going to teach you the proven tools and dialogues that I teach my clients. I will be your personal guide on the journey to reigniting your relationship. The more you do these things, the more your connection will improve, and eventually you will move in to the deep love phase. Start these proven steps right now to get your relationship back on track. Number 1, the first thing is to stop hurting each other. When we realize that every time we threaten to leave, it scares the living daylights out of our partner, even though they don't flinch and don't appear to show it, that's the day when things can begin to start to get better. It's the beginnings of a conscious relationship. It also scares our partner if we yell or scream or start to throw things, even if they continue to stand there frozen, apparently unmoved. Or if your tendency is to shut up, go quiet or leave the room, your partner will find that scary too, and their response might be to follow you or try and make you respond in the way they want. The thread running through all my work is to create safety, first in my room and then between yourselves in your home. Transformation is not possible as long as the pair of you are saying things, the exact things that scare the other the most. That lack of safety is precisely what makes a small disagreement blow up into a big argument. You are each trying to tell the other that you find their behavior triggering, because at a deep unconscious level, it reminds you of your childhood. The second most important thing is realizing to work on your relationship is not about fixing each other. As a therapist, I'm not here to fix my clients. I'm here to help you work on your relationship. There's often an assumption that one or both parties need fixing, and each individual in the relationship needs to get healthy in order to create a healthy relationship. It's not so. It's about working on the space between you, the relational space where the relationship lies. We used to think that space is empty, but now we know that it's filled with energy, the energetic connections between people. Every word, tone of voice, every glance affects the space between you, not to mention every negative word and your body language. We are relational creatures, born in relationships with our caregivers, raised in relationships, and wounded in relationships with other people. So it makes sense for the healing to happen in relationships too. There are times when you and your partner feel accepted by each other. The air is safe to breathe. These are the times when the space between you is filled with love. Then there are times when things are strained. The space between you is filled with judgment, tension, conflict. The 3 worst things for the space between you are criticism, blaming, and shaming. These can turn the air into a war zone, or at least make it feel very uncomfortable, very awkward, and very unsafe. Unfortunately, we often transmit these inadvertently by actions as well as words. The work of John Gottman is highly respected in the relationship counselling world. It was through his research on couples that we learned that there are what he calls the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse of relationship. You're unlikely to see these in the early romantic stage, but as the relationship begins to play out, you may see or feel the beginnings of criticism, blaming, and shaming. Gottman's 4th horseman was what he calls stonewalling, or ignoring, or blanking the other. Gottman also found that these could be delivered and interpreted in many subtle ways. Consider for a moment the mother who constantly guards her daughter, warning her against the dangers of the playground. She's being a good mother, yes? Warning her child of the risks, asking that it take special care. But in fact, the message that the child gets is that she's being shamed because she's incompetent. What she is hearing is critical of her competence. She's hearing, beware, the world is a dangerous place and you're not good enough to survive. And so for her, an inner demon of self-doubt and low self-worth is born. These messages may emerge in that girl's adult relationships as low self-worth, and the girl may find herself in an abusive relationship because she feels she's not good enough to get a healthy relationship. In the same way, consider the father who constantly tells his son the way to do things. As soon as the boy tries to do something, the father jumps in with suggestions for better ways. The father's being a good father, right? Because he's teaching the son the best way to do things. But the message the boy gets is one of criticism and shaming, and what he hears is, you're not good enough, you're incompetent, and you'll never be able to navigate this world because you don't know the right way to do things. The inner demon that is born is again one of inadequacy and the inability to succeed, and a sense of never being good enough. Those inner messages may emerge in that boy's adult relationships as being uncertain that he can ever do anything right, or a lack of confidence, or maybe a need to assert himself, show that he can be strong, which may manifest in what his wife may call aggressive or controlling behavior. In adult relationships, criticism, blaming or shaming may be highly covert. Neither may realize that's what's happening. It can just be the tone of voice, which infers that the other is an idiot and should know better. It can be a look, which is interpreted as shaming. It can be an unintentional turning of the back, which is perceived as stonewalling or ignoring. If this happens, the couple needs to be able to talk about it. The one who's felt criticism, blame or shaming or stonewalling needs to be able to speak up in a non-confrontational way to express themselves and their feelings. If this is not done right, if it's done in an accusatory way, then misunderstandings and discord can follow. The best way is to follow the protocol of NVC, also known as non-violent communication. It has 3 stages. The first is to say, when you did that, it made me feel, whatever it was. Then you say, I prefer it if you did it another way. And then you say, if you could do that, then what the outcome would be. In this process, you're not accusing the other person and not pointing the finger. You're using lots of I statements and simply expressing how the incident made you feel and what you would prefer to have happen. Often their partner acknowledges their unconscious fault and tries to change. Sometimes they take offense and become defensive, in which case it may be something to come back to later. But the lack of criticism of the criticizer means that they are able to accept what has been the cause of pain without loss of face or embarrassment.